What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot with your hosts, Robbie the Wagner and Charles William Carpenter III.
I'm actually going to go by Jay-Z the rest of this episode.
I was going to say, we do have a famous rapper as our guest here today.
He's never heard
what's
that
going
joke.
On?
It's not Jay-Z, it's Nas Z. Let's put it that way. But let's not say Z is not popular nowadays, so let's just say Nas.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Do you want to tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself, Nas?
Yeah, just very shortly. I am currently CTO of Bevvy. It's spelled Bevvy, and it's, we would say, the best whiskey app. We hope so. And it's very good crossing between tech and whiskey. And as I mentioned, I didn't drink much whiskey before, but now I actually discovered the drink, which is pretty good, I would say. And thanks for having me. So that's a cool show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I also didn't drink a ton of whiskey until Chuck made me become an alcoholic, but now we have to do it weekly. So.
I am from a mystical place called Kentucky, and right out of the womb, they give you a little thimble of bourbon, and that's just sort of how you start. You get a little bit every day, and you build up that tolerance. And here we are. It's made me the man that I am.
Since when? Since a year-old baby? Or
Yeah. Although, and I say all of that in jest, but actually when babies are teething, it was a thing growing up that you would take a little, like a mother would just put a little finger in the whiskey and put it on there to numb away the pain. So in some ways, it's not a joke. So Bevvy, I would say, okay, to briefly touch back on that. So it's a whiskey-centric app, and is it for just tracking your ratings? Is it for discovering new whiskeys? Is it have a recommendation engine? Like a little bit more of what it does.
Yeah, it's actually everything you said is what we do. I would just refer to what has been said a lot back in the Silicon Valley just before COVID. It's we're going to change the world. We're going to turn the world into a better place for everyone who is into whiskey. So that should be very short. But yes, so the main thing is we have a lot of whiskey in the app. So I would say 150, close to 200 bottles. And that's mainly Scotch. We have a lot of bourbon as well. Working on it now because bourbon is quite a huge market in the US.
Yeah.
And once you start scanning, getting to know the bottle, we're trying to get the right bottle you're scanning, giving you more details about the bottle, flavors, if we have some notes from authorized authors that are experts in the industry. And you can get to know the distillery, the bottler, and when you start using the app, when you start scanning and basically you can start forming your collections, then we would know what's your preference. So we'll start recommending different bottles to your taste. We also start doing quite a lot of stuff in the UK because this is where we are based in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And there are lots of events happening there. We even did ticket sales, which allowed us to get into the event, people to know the app. We are into quite a few bars in Edinburgh as well. So if you're a tourist, you can go scan the QR and have a really well-designed list and get all the details about each whiskey in the app. So this is the whole point.
Oh, that's
and many
cool.
Other stuff as well, yeah.
Yeah, so if you show up and you scan and say, hey, I'm here, make a recommendation for me based on my profile and preferences. Is that
something like this? So when you scan a bottle, then we can immediately recommend something in that range, not only the price but the flavor. Because as we all know, distilleries they basically categorize themselves into a specific flavors, whether it's peated, whether it's smoky, whether it's fresh, whatever.
Yeah,
quite a lot, and we're still working. We're still adding a lot of stuff. Actually, we thought we could know it for a year. Now it's been like 3 years,
Yeah.
and it's still things happening all the time, and new ideas. A lot of feedback from the whiskey guys all over the world, collectors, drinkers, you name it.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'm getting way ahead of myself, and we definitely should
Yeah.
go down that path a little bit more. But I know Robbie is itching to get some of this whiskey in himself. So I'll go ahead and tell you. Today we're having the Four Roses single barrel. It is 100 proof, aged from 7 to 9 years, and a mash bill of 60% corn, 35% rye, and 5% malted barley. Words are hard. So yes, we'll get our Foley artists in.
Yeah, we'll provide the official tasting notes for the app right now.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We should do all
Talking
the
about this, you
whiskeys.
should be invited. You should be authors there. You should be generating content.
Yeah, so that means you're buying our bullshit?
Oh, everyone's buying everyone else's bullshit at the end.
That's
of the day.
true.
But
Yeah.
so, what do you recommend? Just a little disclaimer. I'm really new into the bourbon, so you can guide me into. Should I need to drop a few drops? Water?
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
All right.
I always recommend having it up and neat as distiller intended for like the first sip and for like, priming your palate a little bit. And then if over time you want to add a couple of drops. To me, that basically gives you two samples. You're having it as is, right out of the bottle. You add to the water, you open it up a little more, and then you get your second sample there. Has a little bit of a
Smelling some
mustiness.
grape candy.
See, I smell a little must.
Maybe yours went bad.
Yeah, I've got the rotten bottle.
It's definitely fresh and rich flavors. I can feel the barrel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of the sweetness from the corn I'm getting. All right, I'm gonna do a little chewing of the whiskey.
Apple. Could be.
So wait till you taste it. Yeah, because I definitely get a little bit of like sour apple juice in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of like sour, bitter apple. Something kind of slightly more bitter on the finish. Yeah. Yeah, the finish is not my favorite.
You might need those drops of water. Yeah, because it starts out like with this like sugar bomb, then gets a little sour, and then it gets like real bitter. Like
Yeah. And I like sugar and sour, but bitter is not my favorite.
yeah. We'll give it a moment as it opens up. All right, so Nas, on this show, since you've listened to a few, we have a very highly technical rating system, 0 to 8 tentacles, 0 being terrible, never have this again. You didn't spit it out, so I don't feel like the 0 for you. 4, middle of the road, not bad, not great. 8, amazing, clear the shelves, give me nothing else. And Robbie will start off the ratings just to, help you through that process.
I don't even know how much this costs, even though I just bought it, but I'm assuming not that expensive.
It's like 40, 45, I want to say, like that.
Okay. I think we may have overpaid even at that price. I don't love it. I think for me, I like those first initial flavors, but then the aftertaste just won't go away. It's just very, very woody, but like not in a good way. It's like over the top in the woody and mustiness that you were referring to. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 3, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. The bitterness hangs some, but I'm still kind of giving it a chance on that. I don't know, as that finish kind of settles into my tongue. So I'm not sure. Nas, do you feel like you would be prepared for a rating?
Yeah, I am. It's really interesting having this whiskey for the first time. It's definitely not expensive one, as you say, around 40 US. I would give it like 5.5, That's one. It's a good one because everything's subjective. I'm more into the smoky ones, and I can't get a lot of smoke here. But having said that, there is a lot of flavor, which is nice at the end of the day, and maybe it's gonna get better if you just wait another 10-15 minutes. Probably it's gonna open up.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
kind of agree with that. That's true.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had this in a while, but I definitely have had it in the past. In general, I've been a fan of Four Roses. I feel like they're often underrated outside of like their barrel picks and some of their higher price stuff. I feel like their low tier in the past has been pretty good for me. This one is fairly pervasive all over the place. I like that you can get it easily. I feel like the price has come up a little bit. Unfortunately, it used to be more about $35 and felt like a real consistent buy for me at that price. I don't know if anything has changed or, it's just been a few years since I've had it. If nothing else, I definitely am going to let it open up for another 10 minutes and see how I feel it goes from there. So I'm hopeful that it improves because in my mind, Nas, I thought I was sending you on something that was like, this is a good baseline. In the past, I've recommended this to people and pretty much everyone has liked it. So, the fact that it's like a little weird on this one is interesting. I don't know what that might be an artifact of, but
I think the nature of single barrel is tricky because like we probably all have different ones. So it's not the exact same.
No, but
And
it's
so
likely they're coming from, batches within the and who's to say? So Nas is over in Europe, so his stuff could be vastly different in terms of distillation time and storage and all of that. A 7 to 9 year too. You expect like a really strong, robust, like it's good. It makes sense. There's a lot of flavor there. There's just this weird note right now that I'm picking up on that kind of brings it down to me. Probably about 4.5 to a 5. Is kind of where I'm at.
I gave pretty high rating, but
you did. But this is all subjective. Like for you haven't had
all made up.
Yeah.
I like it. Actually, with little drops there, it's getting better. It's getting better, and it's going smoother now when you drink it.
Yeah.
As you said it's 7-9 years, or because you don't have any years on the label.
No. They just say that that's kind of the range that they do these barrel picks on, and they're just looking for a particular. This isn't a barrel pick, sorry, but when they decide to bottle, they have that range, and it just depends on when it hits the flavor profile that they say, okay, that's correct for this bottling. It's just like for makers. Now, the difference for makers, though, is that most of the time they're going to do some blending in order to get the correct flavor profile, but they do 6 to 7 years. They'll be like, whenever it kind of hits that point, they'll pull it and then they'll start bottling, but they will also do some blending if they feel they have to hit the right flavor profile.
I would say if you're into the Scotch ones, probably it's not that far away from Speyside whiskies.
Yeah.
However, I think it's not far away from Glenfiddich, not far away from Bevvy, if you had that before. But it's got more flavor in here. So this is my not being an expert, just to remind that.
Yeah. So I think that you end up getting a lot more punch out of a bourbon in particular, is that they are required by law to age them in brand new charred oak barrels. So it doesn't take as much time in the aging process. And then conversely, like they do tend to be more punchy. Once you hit 6, 7, up to 9 years, you're really getting like a ton of that barrel in there.
It's a good start from me, I would say.
Okay. I don't feel so bad now. I was kind of feeling guilty for a moment of like sending you down this path. You don't love it. Here we go. Yeah. I'm trying to work out a side deal later on where we set up the U.S. version offices of Bevvy, and I get the bourbon arm going, So it's all
This is what we must do. We are on that path now.
Yep.
So we're looking forward to get more people into this. So why not?
Yeah, why not? Anyway, this is not about getting me further employment, though. We should be talking.
Can never have too much employment.
Yeah, all the jobs. All the jobs. Yeah, anyway, you want to talk about some tech things. Now, typically we go into some hot takes, and that is mostly ridiculous arguments on Twitter, or at least they're inspired by ridiculous arguments on Twitter. Now, I don't know exactly if there's any code in your day-to-day as CTO, or if you have strong opinions on tech stacks or where the web is today.
I need to get my hands onto the code sometimes, and I can fix and I can break at the same time stuff.
For sure.
But looking at the whole project, you have a little of everything, because you have the website, you have the backend, you have the database, and we do the Android and iOS natively. So that means Swift and Kotlin.
Yeah.
So they're all different things. Recently, we've managed to move to serverless on AWS completely, because we used to have the servers.
Oh, that's a mistake.
EC2.
Yeah, that's
Is
already now. Well, yeah,
Serverless?
because the arguments are like a couple of different things, and most of it has to do with like some like Cloudflare and Vercel, and some of them like getting like these crazy usage charges from like DDoS attacks and some other stuff. But like, yeah, there's some people saying that like it's not quite worth what it used to be, because depending upon the size of your app, like you could have a Hetzer virtual server and cover 50% of your use cases for $50 a month, right? Like, so there's this, it's what is old is new again movement that has come to be. So people talking about Rails and Django and PHP frameworks, Laravel, that kind of stuff. More and more of like, this is batteries included, and this is true full stack. And you can throw this in a VPC, and it's kind of good enough, because the scale that requires complex architectures in Kubernetes and serverless, Lambdas or whatever, those use cases are way down the line, and maybe not even for everyone.
But then how can you flex on everyone if you don't use cool hot stuff?
It depends at what stage are you. So we all understand when you start getting a lot of traffic, it's Lambda services are not your service. You need to go back to EC2 instances. But at this stage, because we are still a startup, we're not, we do have a lot of downloads, but at this stage, I think we're doing well. And the good thing about these services, they're getting updated with the latest patches, and this is what matters at this stage. You can very quickly go back to EC2 at some stage. So yeah, talking about all these things we're managing, talking about the websites, because I know your show is about JavaScript, about other stuffs as well. We use Angular for the website, and therefore TypeScript.
Mm-hmm. Well, there we go.
But it's quite colorful, everything. So
yeah, no, we're all about any aspect of the web, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like anything, the infrastructure aspect of it. Heck, I'd talk hardware if, we go that direction. The practices and getting applications released, all kinds of things. Like you said, you're building native apps. Like, what kind of
native apps are tangentially related? It's
they are,
because you could write them in React Native or something, and like that's another good thing to discuss is like what led you to the technologies you chose, and like because a lot of startups tend to be like, we don't have a lot of people or money, so we just want to do like a React Native across the board for the web, the iOS and Android. So like can you tell us a little bit about your decisions there?
Yeah, sure. So, because we're using the camera, so we wanted in the very beginning to have the full control of the camera of the device, and therefore, I think back in the days when we had discussions whether we should go React or something else, I mean, sometimes these solutions are quite limited, and you can refer to all the forums and say, okay, in order to get down to the architecture of the phone, something still being developed or beta or whatever. So that's why we said, if you want to go native, then you can have full control of the device. This is I think the pros talking to this. Just before that project, I was working with the same people in pharma. So we were doing, again, using the camera. We were scanning UTI tests, and therefore you really need to have full control of the camera, of the matrix, and everything else, because we were reading colors. And the easiest way to do this is go native.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. Probably the things have moved forward nowadays, but as this project started 3 years ago, this is what we kicked off with.
What do you think your biggest challenges that have come up in deciding that path?
Well, it's not a challenge. It's the way we decided how to proceed. So we also had in mind that some distilleries would love this AR functionality as well, and some of them are spending quite a lot of money on having I think it was Jack Daniels or Johnny Walker. They had a really good AR, so you're basically scanning the bottle and you have everything around the bottle going live with the 3D models and everything else. So in order to achieve this, you need to integrate all these SDKs. It's the Unity or all the other stuff we've done. And using all these third parties, and if you're on the React basis, then somewhere down the line, you may get into a stage where it's just not achievable. And we said, let's be native. Let's just use the whole capabilities of the platforms.
Right. Yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
you want hardware access, and you don't want like a. You basically would be depending upon third-party libraries to provide a level of access there if things change or things
they're
out of your
always
control.
catching up.
Yeah, and they're always catching up. And sure, there's like some things I'm sure which are improved over where they were 3 years ago, but the state of trusting that, and I can't even imagine there's any benefit in like regressing to moving over to that.
No.
It's usually a hiring
React Native
decision
is
too.
more. Yeah, it's more of a like you got one developer and they know React and you want to build everything is kind of why you choose that usually. So if you have the knowledge and skills to do it all native, I think that it's definitely a solid choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting dependencies out of your way, essentially.
If you were just an app which aims to show you the bars around or just the map, that's fine doing the React. But if you really want to play with the camera, and lately I think iOS, they did tremendous work on text recognition and everything else. So we're not yet there, but you can basically use the SDK and all the OCR capabilities they've got. So in real time, you can read and you can immediately send requests to the server just to find your whiskey. So that's not an easy job as well, because on the market, if you're looking at other solutions, the most famous one of all is, of course, Vino, which is for wine, and everyone knows it. They've got really good social elements on top of this, and the question is, how do you make an app which basically you scan the label of the whiskey and you find the whiskey, and there are bottles out there, and I'm gonna mention Macallan, and they've got folio one. They've got a folio series which they've got all the different labels, and there is no difference in the text. So what you need to do is really to understand, to read the graphic, break the graphics into the small elements, and start doing the image recognition. So good luck with this with React, and if you want to do it natively, you can do it on the server. That's fine. You need to have some form of machine learning, but I must say huge thanks to the team, because we've got the best whiskey experts in Scotland. They would know everything, of course. They're from Scotland.
You just have to be born there.
These discussions. Yeah, we always have these discussions, because I'm not that into the deep into that knowledge, but they always have this thing between the Irish, whether the Irish whiskey is as good as the Scotch whiskey, whether the English whiskey is good as the Scotch whiskey, and there are quite a few distilleries in England
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, what's happening down there?" "Oh, pretty much nothing."
Good. That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't even recall any English specific whiskeys and anything that like stands
Yeah,
out to
I don't
me.
know that I've had an English whiskey.
Right.
Scotch is everywhere, but yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a number of French whiskeys recently, even in stores here in the States. So it's funny you mentioned. I think you might have even mentioned it before we got started that you recently tried a French whiskey, and I've had a French styled whiskey, or I guess like what was the Penelope whiskey we had, Robbie, that one time.
Oh yeah, was that not French?
It
It
is
was French
French. It
style.
is no. It's actually
Oh, okay.
distilled in France and finished, I want to say, in I forget what sort of liquor it's finished in.
Was it cognac?
Cognac sounds about
Cask?
right, something
I
like
think
that.
so.
Yeah. So that's a big one that we have here in the States that I think is all over. It's called Penelope, and it's a French whiskey with a nice finish. But
Yeah.
English, not heard of. Obviously, plenty
Yeah.
of Irish whiskeys.
Well, I
which
do see behind you. It looks like you have Scotch and some Japanese. Maybe what's
There's
your
one.
favorite between the two of those?
I would say, yeah. So Lagavulin is the classic smoky one, and you've got the Talisker as well. So they all come for Islay, the island, and they're all pretty much, well, they're smoky, but they're in different. Like you have very smoky, as you know, Lafroc, which I can't stand. It's too much.
yeah, it is definitely a lot.
But good Japanese, they can make whiskey, and they're quite a strong brand nowadays.
Yeah.
But I mean, all over the world, you've got German whiskey, and you've got a lot of bourbon. That's a known territory to me, but this is where Bevvy wants to get as well. But the challenge with the bourbon is you have really famous bourbon bottles, which you can find almost everywhere, but you have very small distilleries around the US where most of them are basically handwritten. And this is where you cannot get the database just for a
Yeah.
year. Probably you need even more time to get to know all the market in the US.
Yeah, developing that on the side. Do you take ones that are unknown and do some sort of background analysis, trying to develop like additional data to reinforce them and introduce them into your database? Or like basically what happens with I scan one, it says, I don't really know what to tell you. Here's some other suggestions possibly. What do you do with that kind of fail?
Well, we have a small team which is looking at the scans, and whenever, because we know when the system has recommended something with 100% confidence, we also know when it's like 80, 90 or whatever.
Yep.
So all these people are looking at your scans. Sometimes we see weird stuff. Some people are scanning the TV or just sitting on in the bed or whatever.
Oh wait, and this is fine. This is an adult show, so I'm just gonna preface that.
Hot dog or not hot dog?
Yeah, I was gonna say how many penises have you seen, or have they seen? Because you don't do that.
No, not a single one. Just to let you know.
Okay.
But the whole point
not
is just
yet.
Wait till it blows up in the States.
yeah. But yeah, that's what they do. So when they find that there is a wrong scan, they'll actually find the right bottle, and they'll try to find. If we don't have it in the database, they'll add it, and you get a notification. So you get a notification that the bottle has been found, and that usually happens within 24 hours.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So
you can make your collection, because that's the whole point. You make your collection if you are a wealthy individual, and if you do collect like quite a lot, because I've seen quite a few. Some guy based in Dubai, let's say, and got quite a lot of you can't imagine.
They have some money there. Yeah.
And they got 50, 100 bottles, and all of them starting like, I don't know, probably 500 to 25,000.
Yeah.
And you need to know what's the price on daily basis. It's like your portfolio of stocks you've invested.
Right.
It's the same thing, basically.
Yeah. Oh, not for me. I drink them all.
Yeah.
But I do understand.
All mine are open.
Yeah,
but I get it.
Yeah, there are people who do invest in this. Yeah, there's trophies and whatever else. But I was going to say apologize in advance to your team. I'm not going to send any nasty pictures, but I probably will take a bunch of pictures of whiskeys they haven't seen, and that's going to, put them on.
Yeah,
the
we can
path.
provide a lot of data.
Yeah, we can give you a bunch of data.
Yeah.
We've got
Well,
half the whiskey for this year in my house right now. So
yeah.
yeah.
Quite a lot of. I enjoy it a lot because we've been to a few events. I think we had to go. There was one plant in New York, probably in the beginning of the year, because there are quite a lot in the States as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen. But I've been to quite a few in Scotland, in Edinburgh specifically.
Oh yeah,
and
I love that town though. It's a beautiful town.
It's amazing. In the whole of the UK, I think this is where Harry Potter appeared. By the way, this is where it was invented. So
Yeah.
it's no coincidence. But the whole point is, I enjoyed so much at this event, so we sold tickets there just to make sure just to make sure we get as many downloads as possible. But the whole point is, we've met a lot of distilleries, interesting people, people drinking whiskey, being there for discovering, some of them being there to get drunk, of course.
That's a positive side effect, right?
So the funny bit is talking to organizers and they're saying, have you had many after the event? They say, how do you think the event went? Are you happy based on your experience? Oh, it went very well. We didn't even call the ambulance even once. I say, okay.
Oh.
So what do you mean? Do you usually call the ambulance? And say, yeah, it does happen. Even a few events back, there was a case where a man was actually by the security got them out, and on the next day, the wife of that man wanted to open a case against organizers because they let him got drunk. So.
That's funny. You say disclaimer is all are adults who come here, and we are not their babysitters.
Yeah. That's what you have. You need to sign something in the app when you buy the ticket, because otherwise someone may hold you responsible.
That sounds like litigious, like in the States or something. What's going on there?
Yeah, you made me drink all this whiskey.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want it. That's actually I've been trying to sue Robbie for a couple of years now because my consumption has gone way up.
You're welcome to my big pile of debt if you'd like it.
Yeah. Perfect. I've always wanted a place in Virginia.
Have you been at such events recently or not?
Like tastings or
tastings.
Lately. I have visited a number of distilleries. I mean, like I said, I'm from Kentucky, so I've been on the Bourbon Trail a few times there, and I've been to a few random distilleries throughout the United States. I can't say that I've been straight up to a tasting event.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of wine events.
Yeah,
but
the wine events, but
it's not as many whiskey events. Maybe that's like harder, like legally to do
to come and serve up a bunch of outside of like maybe you go to the liquor store, you go to like there's big liquor stores here called like Total Wine or something of that nature, and they'll have they'll have representatives from distilleries there doing tastings, or they'll feature a new place, but no, not really like an event at a bar. And that's probably just I'm too much of a homebody. I would either seek out the distillery personally, or if we're traveling and there's an interesting distillery in town, I definitely would seek that out. But the inverse, not as much.
We should do more whiskey events, though. Maybe just be live from the Bourbon Trail for a week or two.
That's a decent idea. Rent a house in Kentucky, go bounce around. I don't know. I'm open to ideation here, so we could.
Well, there are quite a lot of these happening in Scotland, of course.
Yeah.
But
or live from Scotland.
Yeah. Kentucky, you say, this Four Roses, basically from Kentucky, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah. This is why you recommend it.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. That's a massive one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a very large producer. Their distillery isn't huge, all things considered. Like, right, you go there, and we're there, like, going through the distillation process. That's not huge. It's always about aging, right? And they're, like, doing batches, and then they have a ton of rick houses for the aging process. Yeah, so that's how they're doing so much is, like, they have a ton of land where they do the aging.
was that famous during the Prohibition age when they were allowed to sell this like a medicine in the US. I
They,
think that's the story.
Yeah. Did Four
Uh,
I
Roses,
don't
were
know.
they
Four
around then?
Roses,
I
Four
don't.
Roses. I
Okay.
believe
Were they
so.
one?
Or
Okay,
maybe.
there were like, I believe there was like 27 distilleries throughout the United States that were allowed to continue producing alcohol for medicinal purposes, of course. And
Yeah.
I probably can't even name one of them, so I'd have to trust you on that one.
Maybe that's the one.
Yeah,
Maybe there are
yeah,
26 more.
Yeah.
I
Old Forester, maybe? Since they
wa-
have the Prohibition style. I
right.
don't know if they were making it then.
Yeah, they probably were then. That sounds right because they're a Brown Foreman. They're under the same umbrella as Jack Daniels, actually. And yeah, I believe they were Old Forester. Now that you say it, and that kind of makes sense. Four Roses actually came to like massive prominence in the 50s and 60s. They were like the gentleman's whiskey or whatever in the States. So it's one of the reasons why bourbon like blew up until vodka came on the scene in the 70s and said, "Hold my cocaine." I don't know. Anyway, and it came into play. And then that's
Oh, man.
where
Vodka has no flavor, though. It's like, what's the point?
clean spirit, and for people that don't like the harshness of these brown liquors, I think it was like so clean and easy. You put it in anything, that's what it tastes like. But that's why
Yeah.
like through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like whiskey had crazy market drops, and then they didn't know what to do with it, and they were like, they were putting it in steel storage things and trying to figure out and reducing production. That's essentially what Pappy Van Winkle is. It's stuff from the 70s and 80s that they couldn't sell and they were storing forever. And then this nephew of Pappy Van Winkle. So Pappy Van Winkle is Old Fitzgerald, essentially. It's that mash bill that is wheated that did really well for a while. And then they had so much of it, he came out with this marketing plan and then was buying it from, I don't remember who had it, but anyway, was buying it from Heaven Hill or something. I can't remember who. Old Fitzgerald, that label's changed a couple of holders. And so, okay, I'll buy your excess, start bottling it up this way, and sell it as Pappy Van Winkle. And that's what got really popular. So the stuff that got popular is not what you can buy today. Now it's the same mash bill. They're making more, and they're kind of going down this path. But what they did for like a decade or more was just sell this old stock they couldn't do anything with because he believed the family recipe was good and rebranded it as a premium. He took Old Fitzgerald, which was like a mid-level whiskey, good, but like whatever, and rebranded it as premium. And then Anthony Bourdain and other celebrity chefs just like took it to the moon. Anyway,
Must be nice.
must be nice. Not for Bourdain, not these days.
Well,
Oh, poor.
yeah, that's true. He had a nice life until he didn't, though.
Yeah. Here's one to Tony. I didn't.
That's what we need when we drink whiskey. It's the stories. This is what it makes whole experience really good.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I kind of like some of these established brands. Like, there's so many whiskey, like so many distilleries that have come up. I don't know if it's the same in Europe. I mean, Scotland is like full of old brands, obviously, right? So I don't know how many micro distilleries you're coming up with, but there's a bunch here, and in particular, a lot of them will just source things from large producers. It's called MGP out of Indiana, and they will do a bunch of distillation for micro distilleries because they don't really have their own product or their product's not ready yet. So they'll go and start sourcing stuff and putting it in their bottle with a similar mash bill and then selling it for 60, 70, 80 plus dollars. It's a little like, how can I try your stuff? It's supposed to be craft premium, but it's not. It's not even really your stuff. It gets kind of annoying. And then you look at these.
But they don't have to say that on the bottle, right?
No, they don't. I mean, some of them will kind of say like, produced in Indiana, distilled in Indiana.
And then immediately.
Yeah. But not all of them do that too. So kind of depends on their story. But that's what I like about some of these older brands is oftentimes there is like they've been around forever. There's a cool backstory. Oh, they were a Prohibition brand or something else. This is basic. Four Roses, I like to say, is the Mad Men brand. I mean, I don't think they drank. I don't think it was, but it was like that time was its heyday. Yeah. I don't know. A nice.
Do you like Mad Men?
Who doesn't like Mad Men? Nas, do you like Mad Men?
I haven't I don't know.
You haven't. It's a show that was really big on AMC like a decade or so ago, and it was about
Yeah.
advertising. These men in advertising in New York City in the '60s, and just like I don't know. Again, it was about brand stories. Actually, like what I loved about the first season is it was like it would be each episode was like the development of this story around a brand. It was almost like its own character in the show, and it kind of went different directions from there. But the first season was very much like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like that time period of like, all right, wake up 9 a.m. Let me smoke 18 cigarettes and have 4 whiskeys before I start work.
Right, and then I'm going to drive into work,
Like,
and then and at least when I get home, both my wife and my housekeeper will have everything done for me.
Yep. And they won't talk to me because I need time to decompress from all of my drinking whiskey all day.
If you can't tell,
Anyway.
One of my favorite one was I think Howard Stern. This guy, I think he was did he make this Son of the Beach series back in the days?
Oh, I think he did. I kind of forgot about
Yeah,
that. I
he
know he
did.
had that movie,
crazy.
but Son of the Beach, yeah.
Son of the Beach, it was quite funny.
Just the name. It's fun to say, for sure. That's really
Crazy.
funny. Let's see here. I read here in our show notes. Believe it or not, we do prepare mildly for these things. We've talked a little bit about some of your unique experiences and partnerships. You've been a founder of several companies. This is correct? Is this bullshit or is this real?
Yes, sort of. Yeah, it's
Sort
real. So sort of. Yeah.
Well, what's your
So-
favorite one then?
Well, Bevvy's quite interesting, to be honest. It's not much pressure. It's lifestyle. It's fun.
Are you a founder with
Previous
Bevvy?
one- Yeah, I'm a co-founder. We started from the beginning. So
Okay.
there was the CEO who was a serial entrepreneur anyway, and he used to be collecting for 15 years. Then another guy working for an auction company, a whiskey auction company. So he joined Bevvy as well. So he's a co-founder, and he knows everything about whiskey. And there were just 3 of us in the very beginning. Before that, well, I did mention there was the pharma thing, which was quite tough because when you understand all the regulations,
Yeah.
how you can push a product and get all the, especially in the US FDA.
Oof.
Europe, we did it back in the days 4 years ago. CE was quite easy to get, but FDA, if you're not a US company, then it's quite challenging because everyone outside the US, everyone overseas, it doesn't work that way. To be
Yeah,
honest.
right.
And other things like I'm still helping a lot. I did co-found a restaurant business, restaurant discovery platform where you have deliveries, where you have online bookings, and I'm still supporting that a lot. And I'm a lot now into helping this to adopt Bitcoin as well in the business.
Interesting. When will there be an AI element integrated into that?
Yeah, we're looking at this at Bevvy.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, we're still in the early days, isn't it? We still learn like what to do. Even one of the guys, was investigating with Google Cloud about their AI models, and of course you want to train your thing. You want to train your GPT based on everything you have, and that means chats, text generated from users, and everything else. And it was very funny when he said, I'm giving the model question and answers, because you have questions, you have answers.
Mhm.
Someone's chatting in the chat, whatever. And he couldn't make it like 3 days, and he was saying, actually, you need training by saying it, which is the question, which is the answer, because you cannot immediately tell what's the question and what's the answer, and that's why it didn't work.
Yeah.
It was really funny. I say, is that the case? Maybe it's getting better every day nowadays.
I think when you're
mean, every
starting
day.
from zero,
Yeah.
you obviously, if you're starting from a
Yeah.
zero data set, then, right, like you need to kind of point its direction, and then it starts to
Yeah.
infer over time. So,
They have
Yeah.
like a decade baseline on like all these ones we use
Oh, for
day
sure.
to day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need a lot of initial training, But yeah, they're still very sketchy. Like the whole Google, how do you keep cheese on your pizza? Well, you put an eighth a cup of glue on there, and it keeps the pizza.
Is it Elmer's
keeps the
glue?
cheese
That's
on the pizza.
edible, and that's
Yeah.
almost maybe its own
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
not.
cheese.
It did say non-toxic glue, but it was some like troll guy on Reddit that was saying that. So it's like they had trained on Reddit, and then there's a lot of people giving like satirical answers. So it's like it's not good data. So yeah, it's all about. I think if you're doing stuff internally and building your own model, it may take a little longer, but you're not going to get this weird fake data. Like you just use all your data, and like I think those sort of things are really going to do really well. I'm bullish on that, and I'm bearish on like AI as a replacing everything global data kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I think AI is a very like ubiquitous term. Like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Somebody said it to me last week. I actually was at Microsoft Build last week, and somebody said, like, AI is a generic term that they dump marketing ideology into until they know what it is, and then they call it the thing.
Yeah. It's like blockchain.
Right. It's blockchain until it's something specific, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's like the high level. Oh, yeah, we want AI, but like, AI what? Like, what is it doing? Is it a chatbot? Is it a photo analysis or photo creation thing? Like, right? Like, AI is what we call it when we don't know what it is yet.
But it's investable, right? You need to have AI in your startup to make sure you get the funds.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You just say that and figure it out, and then
Yeah.
maybe you end up with something. Maybe you end up with a garbage orange device. I don't know.
Which is interesting because this is exactly what happened with blockchain. Everyone put blockchain in their name, and everyone got tons of VC dollars. And now everyone's being like, oh, well, now we have AI, and they're the only ones getting VC dollars. It's hard to get VC dollars now. Like, the economy's not great, so, like, they're not just investing everywhere.
Yeah.
But everyone that has AI, they are investing in. And, like, they haven't learned that, like, everyone that had blockchain you invested in and all that's gone. And, like there's going to be a big rug pull from AI, I think. Like, it's not going anywhere, and it's going to change life for sure. But, like, I don't know what exactly it's doing.
It's just very early days. That's all it is. It's like, it's like incremental until we hit that point. And then I think it's just going to shoot up.
And then everyone's unemployed.
Yeah, and then it's and then it's a game changer. I don't know. Yeah, are they targeting code first? I don't know. It's hard to say. There's a lot of things.
I'm targeting them. If they start writing code better than we can, then I'm targeting those data centers.
Oh, okay. So you're just going, red team hacking up. Yeah, whatever.
We're doing anti-AI, and we're gonna hack in.
Anti-AI. So AAI, I guess.
It's IA.
Anyway,
I don't know. I'm being stupid.
Yeah, well, it is a good pivot into whatnot and whatever else. Because I would say, okay, so two questions. The first one is, who really won that battle, Jay-Z or Nas? An unbiased opinion, unbiased.
Well, I never met Jay-Z. I think at some point of time I was about to meet Britney Spears, but
okay, Britney won.
That's the job.
She might have won something. Yeah, maybe there you go. That was the nuance there, as Britney actually won. That would be like Britney or Christina who won that battle. Yeah, I don't know.
Christina,
yeah.
I don't know that they were really battling.
They hated each other. There was a moment where like they were the burgeoning pop, like not even burgeoning, like when they were at the beginnings of their height. And they had some little tiff on MTV Music Awards. These are pop culture elements. They have nothing to do with our show that I bring into it. So this is the whatnot. This is the bullshit nuance. But okay, so second question was, if you weren't in tech, what career would you choose? See, everybody was looking for a joke, but
I know I've done a lot of restaurant stuff before, and what my passion is pizza.
Oh.
So I would say I would just for fun I would have a pizza place because this is my favorite. I've been to a lot of places in Italy and I'm in a constant search for the best pizza, even in Germany. So I don't know whether you've been around there. Italy, definitely you'll find a lot of good stuff.
Oh, yes.
But not everywhere because you've got the tourists,
yeah,
got the bad pizza, got the whatever.
and the Roman style pizza, bleh, for me.
Roman,
what's your
exactly.
favorite style of pizza?
Yeah, what's your favorite?
Of course, Naples style pizza.
Yeah.
This is the
Yep.
huge board, And being in Naples, it's a nice place. It's really interesting. I love it. I love it there.
Yeah.
They even had a hard time in Germany. They usually really butt into the food stuff. It's the usual Wurst and whatever.
Yeah.
You name it. But it's not impossible to find a good place. And when you scroll around Google and start searching for a pizza, then you can see it's there. If it's just one image of a good pizza and say, I'm going there. I went there, and you enter the place and you hear the Italian speech. You say, this is the place.
This is why. Yeah, a pizzolo, a
Yeah.
true pizzolo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. You would think it wouldn't be so hard, but it is for some reason very, very hard to find a good pizza. And even in Italy, because we were just there, like I think a lot of people during COVID maybe retired. There's like a grandma that was doing it for 50 years and stopped doing it. We went back to restaurants we had been to before, not as good.
yeah.
I think tourists ruin it because, like, especially American tourists, we want pizza to be like way overcooked for some reason. And I'm like, no, you need it like 900 degrees for like 1, maybe 2 minutes. Like,
yeah,
done.
for sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't need it to be solid, and like, it shouldn't hold up. If you pick up a piece, it should like flop around, and like, it should not be
Yeah,
solid.
that's why you fold. The proper style of eating is fold it or whatever. Also, I think the misnomer too, to a degree, is even if you have good ingredients, technique is important. Like how much you touch the dough and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm like you. I'm a little obsessed with like trying to have a good pizza and the right dough and the right technique and all of that kind of stuff. So not everywhere you go is great, but it is worth trying. So then, here you go. Have you ever had Chicago-style pizza?
No, I've been to Chicago, but didn't go to a pizza place. Been to New York.
Yeah, which also they have their own thing.
But it's different. I never had something similar to what I had in Italy. And in quite a lot of places in Europe nowadays, pizza culture went up, I would say.
Yeah.
And of course, not the Roman style pizza.
Yeah.
I don't like it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only American style that's good is Detroit style.
I would have to say,
But-
yeah. I don't mind New York style pizza to a degree. I think it's like
I'll eat it all.
it's very
but-
utilitarian or
yeah.
whatever. It's not like amazing,
Yeah.
but like Detroit style pizza is delicious.
Yeah.
I would suggest it. If you've not heard of it or had it or both, I would say, yeah, it's almost like a focaccia bread, but it's a little like fluffier, and then it has cheese and butter crust like on the bottom throughout, and then normal pizza. It's very good.
Talking about food, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it makes you
Yeah,
hungry.
it's making me. It's almost dinner time for me. I guess it's bedtime for you, though. Nas.
Well,
Well, it's a great time because I cannot have a whiskey with anyone else apart from you at this moment.
well,
so
there
it's
you
okay.
go. Yeah. Well, I think a good follow-up to the what other career, let's see if this might follow similarly, but do you have any hobbies outside of tech?
Well, I love traveling. This is what I love with passion. Going to places, but not. I haven't done all the world, but done the Europe in most of the countries. Food, of course, you'll be in search for a good food.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been to Southeast Asia anywhere, or?
Just Japan.
Oh.
But that's all right.
Yeah, that's a solid
Yeah.
one. Yeah, for sure. I was
Yeah,
just,
Yeah. If I had to choose one place, Japan would probably. be
yeah,
it,
for
so.
sure.
Japan's amazing. Japan's amazing. It's just where it's exceptional. It's just another world.
Yeah,
This is where
I hear that.
you've been there.
No, it's actually, it's on my list, and I've debated with my wife a couple of different times as far as our next place, our next big place, but I haven't won yet, but it'll happen. I have been to
It's
Thailand,
only-
and we were saying earlier, talking about basically world whiskeys, and Thailand's a funny one because Thai whiskey is actually it's not whiskey at all, they just call it that, and it's closer to a rum, which is an interesting thing.
Oh, so it's like sugarcane.
Yeah,
based?
yeah. So it's like doesn't have.
But they call it whiskey.
They call it, and you can buy it at like a 7-Eleven. I forget what it's called. It's like Sangsong. I think it's called Sangsong, and that's an interesting one. You should try it just
Interesting.
to try it really. Yeah. Anyway, That's another thing.
So
Like,
it's Japan. Talking about Japan, it's the only place in the world where you buy a can of a drink somewhere. They've got all these machines everywhere,
yeah,
and then you don't have a place to throw it. Like there is no rubbish bin anywhere on the street.
huh?
It's a huge problem. So if you do go to Japan, just make sure you have enough space in your pocket so you can pull your rubbish, and when you get back to the hotel, you throw it there. And despite this, it's so clean everywhere. It's just amazing.
Everybody's afraid to throw it on the ground. Unlike Italy, where they're like, bibbity boobity
Yeah.
boppity.
One of our like guide in Florence was saying they have to do the street sweepers and stuff like 5 times a day or whatever
yeah,
to like
for sure.
clean everything because people are just like trash.
Yeah.
Like
They don't even think. That's the thing, is like they drink a coffee or whatever, and they're like talking and not even paying attention. They're like, I need this out of my hand.
well, they don't get coffee to go.
No, they go to
So that's-
bars.
It's not a coffee, but whatever else.
Okay,
yeah.
Mr.
But
Correct.
that's the best coffee in the world, isn't it?
It's pretty, I mean,
Yes.
it's good.
Italian,
Yeah.
And it's so cheap. Yeah. I don't understand. You can get like 2 cappuccinos and 2 pastries for less than like 1 coffee in the States. And
Yeah.
I'm upset about it.
Quite expensive. Yeah.
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 The US got really expensive nowadays.
I would say yes, definitely. It
Yeah.
feels like
Yeah.
everything has gotten quite expensive all around. So then you just don't leave
Yeah.
the house. I don't know.
I remember me and my wife going into a Chinese restaurant in New York, and I don't have, well, you have to be tipping in the US, and it's usually
Oh,
like
yeah.
15-20%.
Yeah.
But we don't have that culture. 20% is quite a lot here.
Yeah.
And we just left something like $4-5, and these Chinese guys, they were just chasing us on the street.
You're like,
So,
what?
Okay. So probably I didn't figure out the right tipping there, but yeah, it gets really expensive.
Yeah,
nowadays.
no, I do agree.
It
And it's a
does.
strange culture that is like scaled up and up to like require your customers to pay your employees. Like, it's like,
Yeah. Have you seen the commercials of? I don't know whose commercial it is, but it's like there's a guy like bench pressing in the gym, and it's like, "Hey, great set, bro. Can you check this this screen for me right here?" And it's like 20% tip for like
Yeah.
bench pressing.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like, oh man, yeah. Like it's gotten absurd. Like it should be just pay your employees what they need to live,
yeah.
and then don't ask us to tip everywhere. It's crazy.
another thing where capitalism has taken advantage of some kind of nice to have thing where like, oh, we pay our employees, and if they did a great job, you should leave them a little something if you want. And now it's like, well, now it's customary where you definitely have to leave them something, and then great service just
because they
goes
make
high.
like $2 an hour. Like,
Right.
It's a broken
Yeah,
system.
it's a broken system. It's like many things where bits have been taken
Yeah,
advantage
like
of.
healthcare.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but we won't go down that. We're about at time here. Is there anything we missed talking about, or things you want to plug before we end, Nas?
Yeah, there's still a lot to come from Bevvy.
I was going to say, let us know when you announce your new bourbon experts, us. That's a big thing.
You need to come to Denver because this is where one of the it's actually the biggest investor in Bevvy is. So Denver is not far away from you. I think he was a big fan of Nuggets.
Yeah, the basketball team.
Is
Yeah.
a basketball
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
This is where we should come, but that's a lot of work there, isn't it? It's massive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not like the small Scotland.
Yeah, I mean it's all over
Yeah.
the place. Yeah, I was to say Stranahan's is a big one in Denver. Actually, there's a couple other Fry Ranch. Aren't they in Colorado? I think too.
Frey Ranch? Yeah, somewhere out that way.
Yeah, I feel like they're another one that's pretty decent there, and they're like estate grains or something. I believe they grow. At least
they do everything on property, like from the barrel to the everything they make.
Yeah. So interesting stuff.
Yeah. We'll get Scott to show us around if you come out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. So Arizona. So you were based in Arizona. Who was by Chuck?
I am. I'm in Arizona, and he's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Virginia in the D.C. area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not far away from California and
Nope.
Colorado.
Nope, not that far. Quick flight, couple hours, I think. Something like that.
Well, quick flight, but that's a huge flight in the U.S. If you get a flight from New York to San Fran, then you
Oh, that's a big one.
it's like 6 hours,
Yeah.
5.5 hours.
Yeah, it depends.
I get the
Yeah.
flight. I get the flight from southeastern Europe to Scotland, which is of course northwest, and it's like 3 hours and a half.
Yeah.
So you can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's big over here.
Yeah. That's what we do, big.
Driving big cars and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, drinking whiskey is about it's about places, and in my mind, when I go to different pubs, different places. So let's say when I'm in Edinburgh, I go to a place, and I'm willing to try a different bottle. So if this whiskey is something good I like, then I would remember the whiskey with the place and the people. And I so much enjoy being into these pubs because you have all the pub culture there.
Yeah.
So apart from the soccer culture, which one of you was a fan of soccer as well.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was Man United, wasn't
That's
it?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
FA Cup winners.
Yeah. Please say that you hate all soccer.
I do not. I do not.
Okay.
But
Usually, everyone we have on from Europe, Chuck's like, "Ooh, maybe you like football," and they're like, "No."
That's why I stopped bringing it up, because everybody says no, and then it doesn't work out. So I was like, well, I guess this is just not meant to be. And then, of course, I don't bring it up with you, and you like it. You can do a quick who's your team, and then I think we got to wrap up.
Yeah, from the UK, I really support and like one small team called Derby.
Yep.
And there is Derbyshire.
Mm-hmm.
And there is one really special one. It's Real Bedford. Have you heard about Bedford? It's north of London.
Okay.
And it has adopted Bitcoin, so it's I do support that.
Okay.
And my country, there is one. Of course, I don't have to mention, but it's yellow and black, so it's pretty much the same colors. But yeah, I do like the small ones, the small teams, the small distilleries as well.
Yep.
These distilleries that are not being owned by Diageo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Diageo owns everything.
For sure.
It's probably 60-70%. So you need to support local team, small team.
I like it.
Yeah.
And everyone who wants to give us a shout or feedback, bevvy.com, Bevvy app. So
Bevvy. We're saying Bevvy.
Bevvy, yes.
Bevvy.
Bevvy, it's a Scottish thing for,
Proper. Like a drum.
like a drum.
I like it. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being in the show. Whiskey Tech. I enjoyed it a lot. So thank for getting in touch, and good luck with the show.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
And with the whiskies, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's the correct whiskey, with E or without E? Of course,
With the E. Yeah, I'll say with the E.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's
With
the same
the
thing
E.
between the Irish and Scottish. They always.
Yeah.
Same.
Us in America will always say we have it right. We corrected English. You might have invented it,
Sure
but we
you do.
corrected
Yeah,
it.
we
You're more-
corrected. Take those U's out of there.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. If you liked it, please subscribe, leave us some ratings and reviews. We appreciate it, and we will catch you next time.
Boom, 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 boom.